Cheerleading, the prestige and also the pressure. Let's say good evening now to Sheila Noone. She's the editorial director of American Cheerleader magazine. Welcome, Sheila. Obviously, there are images out there. You heard me earlier mention that in Channel View case of 1991, the alleged murder plot that was in play. What does what we've just seen in our report tonight mean to you and say to you?
It's one of the most extreme cases I've seen of a tryout gone awry. There's always, as with any athletic competition, there's always going to be people who didn't make a squad and protest that. But I don't think I've ever seen the parents go to the degree that they did in this case.
You'd call it very unusual then?
I do.
Is this a sport?
You know, it requires skill and strategy, just as any other sport does. It's not sanctioned as a sport in every state, so it's hard to consider it truly a sport. I consider them to be athletes. I think they work just as hard as any other athlete.
How big is it? Give me some concept of how this has exploded in recent years.
Well, there's probably at least 4 million cheerleaders nationwide right now, from the younger ages all the way up to college. The growth has been in the competition market. I'd say when our magazine launched 12 years ago, there were probably only about 20 companies doing national competitions, holding them state to state. Now there are at least 55 that run national competitions and about as many that run just regional events.
How commonly is it to have it sanctioned as a sport?
There are probably less than half of the states in the country consider it a sport.
Of those 4 million cheerleaders in this country, what percentage are boys?
It depends. At the college level, I'd say it's about 40%. Everything else, I'd say about 5 to 10%.
Now, we have seen Title IX mean so much to women and young girls participating in sports through the years, especially in recent years. We celebrate the U.S. soccer team and things along that. At the same time, this growth in cheerleading, the cheerleading traditionally is seen as the support network of girls to young men playing their sports. How do you reconcile the two and the fact that you also at the same time have this great growth?
Well, it's a tough one. I mean, not every cheerleader doesn't just cheer usually. They also do other sports. So I feel like they're athletes in their own rights in many different fields. There is the male factor as well. So I think it's sexist to consider cheerleading like that. I think cheerleading was there for girls when nothing else was. So I think that's where it became primarily women-oriented. I don't see it. There's a skill level now that didn't exist 30 years ago, and I think that's what people need to see. A lot of people, it's almost like people have ignored the growth of cheerleading, and they're falling back on stereotypes from 30 years ago. It's very different now. It's the degree of athleticism, the degree of skill required is so different.
We have about 15 seconds. To what extent must safety precautions be taken or restrictions on maneuvers and whatnot?
Safety is crucial. I mean, and there are many
organizations. It's crucial, but how often is it to put restrictions on what they can, how high they can go, what they can do? It's
becoming more and more of an issue. There's always a liability issue. Right now, our focus at American Cheerleader is to get the word out to coaches to be safety certified, to be credentialed in their sport, so that they can educate everyone they encounter.
Sheila, we appreciate your time. Sheila Noone. Thanks so much. Alrighty, on ESPN.com. Search OTL to send us email and to sign up for our daily program alert. To make your opinion heard on the air, our toll-free voicemail is 866-ESPN-OTL.